wasn't really expecting to wake up and have my life in jeopardy. It was sad.
This isn't something to expect to happen at work. I mean, we love our job.
It's one of those things. It's the world we live in these days.
Terribly upsetting and devastating to the community at whole.
Tragedy rocks Fountain Square. A gunman opens fire at the Fifth Third Bank headquarters downtown, one of the most popular areas of the Queen City. Now a crime scene.
Really the heart of the Queen City. As we come on the air, investigators are still trying to identify some of the victims. They're also trying to answer the big question everyone is wondering. Why did this happen?
Folks, we just got an update from police about 90 minutes ago, so let's bring you up to speed. Police say the gunman opened fire at Fifth Third Bank headquarters, killing 3 people and injuring 2 more. One of the victims has been identified as 64-year-old Richard Newcomer. Officers exchanged gunfire with the gunman, killing him.
Just 90 minutes ago, investigators identified the suspected gunman as 29-year-old Omar Enrique Santa Perez. This is a mugshot of the suspect. Another big development we're following. Hamilton County deputies searched a home in North Bend. They believe the suspected shooter lived there. Chopper 9, the only local helicopter getting you breaking news first, had this exclusive view on Miami Avenue near Brower Road.
And we do have comprehensive team coverage on the investigation and the conditions of the victims. We do want to begin, though, with our co-anchor Craig McKee, who is leading our coverage from downtown. Craig.
Tanya and Kristen, referencing the suspect in this case who took part allegedly in this attack, the suspected gunman in the attack here at Fifth Third Center. You know, the police chief earlier told us they believe he did act alone as he entered the Fifth Third Center lobby here, first entering the Potbelly restaurant right next door just prior to going into Fifth Third Center and opening fire. As you mentioned there, one of the victims, 64-year-old Richard Newcomer, his employer actually identified him. Newcomer worked for Gilbane Building Company based in Providence, Rhode Island. The spokesperson actually where Newcomer was working did release a statement saying our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. We are shocked and saddened by the events of today, and we haven't learned the identities of the other 2 victims. Of course, at this point, we are continuing to follow every development, and there are so many different layers to this investigation. In fact, Tom McKee was one of the first 9 on Your Side reporters out on the scene right after those shots were fired. We want to go to him live with where everything stands right now. Tom?
Well, basically, the question tonight is why. We know what happened inside the lobby here at the Fifth Third Center. We don't know why. Some possibilities. Maybe it was suicide by cop. Maybe it was one of those things where he was upset with the bank. He wore a suit during this whole situation. He had a 9mm handgun and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. But the victims seem to be randomly chosen. It really isn't making any sense to investigators, at least right now. Now, it may take a long time to sort through Thursday morning's chaos. 5 people in the lobby shot, 3 dead and 2 hurt. Police quickly responded to neutralize the threat, and that drew praise from Police Chief Elliot Isaac in that news conference a few moments ago.
This is a horrific incident, and we really are grateful to the quick and decisive actions of the officers and fire personnel who responded this morning. 4 of the responding officers engaged the shooter with their firearms, striking him multiple times, causing him to fall to the ground.
Now, the chief also had praise for the Cincinnati Fire Department. Certainly, 4 officers went in, engaged in that gunfight with a suspect in that lobby down here. But it was the Cincinnati firefighters, the paramedics, the EMTs that had to come in and take those victims to the hospitals as quickly as possible, and that they did. There was also another wrinkle. A mutual aid pact with fire departments in Cincinnati and Hamilton County has life squads can be used in mass casualty situations. Well, Level 1 emergency was called today. 10 life squads were staging at Union Terminal just in case, and fortunately, they weren't needed. Unfortunately, we had the loss of life here in the middle of downtown Cincinnati. Tom McKee, 9 on Your Side, live along Walnut Street.
Yeah, Tom, absolutely. Very fortunate the rest of those rescue squads didn't have to be used. Of course, at the time of this shooting, this is a very busy location here in downtown. Most of us, I think I can clearly state a broad brush there, most of us have been down here in the morning times or throughout even just the weekday. It is a very busy place. Folks here in the Fifth Third Center were getting their coffee, their donuts, whatever, their bagels, and getting ready to head to work and do what they do each and every day. We want you to listen to some of the reaction from those who were here when chaos rang out.
I heard 2 gunshots, and then it stopped. And then immediately after, it was more gunshots and never stopped. And all I could do was run, lock doors, and come and hide in the bathroom. That's all we could do.
It's very close to where it felt like a gunshot was going to come through the wall. That's how close they were. They were right outside the door. There was nowhere that we can go. The only thing we could do was protect each other, go and, go in the bathroom and pray that everything is okay.
Just pray everything was okay. They stayed in the bathroom for about a half hour, texting friends and family to let them know where they were and that they were still safe, but hunkered down, obviously, during the chaos. So things out here have calmed down in that sense, though. The investigators continuing all of their efforts on the inside for several more hours ahead. Kristen, Tanya, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Craig. It had to be so incredibly frightened.
Oh, I can't even imagine it.
No.
Yeah.
So as we mentioned earlier, deputies searched the home of the suspected shooter just a short time ago.
9 on your sides. Tamika Artis joins us from the scene with what we know.
Investigators cleared the scene here around 4:30 this afternoon. They have been searching the second floor of that 3-story apartment building there behind me. That is where the alleged gunman, Omar Perez, lived. And just like so many people here, they're trying to understand what would have motivated him to do something like this. Now, we had a chance to speak with a woman who lives right across the hall from the alleged shooter. Federal, county, and city agents arrived here around 10:30 this morning. The woman, whose name is Christina, told us that Omar Perez was a quiet and nice man. She said that he was a father, had at least one son, but she hadn't seen that child in a while. She says that she never saw any signs that he would plan a mass murder and that he's been living here for about 6 months. She was one of the last people to leave the apartment building when more than a dozen law enforcement officials showed up here and told her that she had to leave the property, which was now officially a crime scene.
They showed me a picture and asked me when's the last time I seen him or if I knew of him. And actually, I saw him last night about 3 o'clock in the morning on his balcony when I took my dog out. But I couldn't hear what he was saying. He was on the phone. I have no idea why he would go do something like that, or, he never gave any type of clue that he was doing that.
Well, again, many people out here are just in shock and disbelief. They're expressing prayers and condolences to the victims and their families. But again, the big question is why, and that is something that may take days, weeks, even months for anyone here to know. Reporting from North Bend, I'm Tamika Artis, 9 on your side.
Okay, so thank you, Tamika. And we do want to tell you that we have now the names of the deceased victims from the Hamilton County coroner. Pruthvi Raj Kandepi is at 25. Luis Felipe Calderon, 48 years old. And, of course, we've been reporting to you for at least a couple hours now. Richard Newcomer, age 64.
And continuing our live team coverage now, we are looking for updates about the conditions of the other victims. 9 on your sides, Lisa Smith has been covering this part of the story all day long, and she joins us live from UC Medical Center with more. Hi, Lisa.
Well, Kristen, there were 4 of those shooting victims brought here to UC Medical Center. 2 are dead. We can tell you that 1 is still listed in critical condition and 1 is in fair condition, upgraded from serious from earlier today. Now, we have some video of the scene as the ambulances were arriving here at the hospital. These were the first shooting victims to be brought here. There was a very large presence of hospital staff waiting for those ambulances to arrive. UC is, of course, a level 1 trauma center, so they tell me that they prepare for days like today. There was also a very heavy police presence here with Cincinnati police detectives actually collecting evidence at the hospital. One thing that this tragedy does show is the spirit of Cincinnati. Hawksworth Blood Center tells us that people are giving blood and they need it.
We really need the blood today so that it's available for people tomorrow. As a level 1 trauma unit here, we see people who need urgent blood all the time.
And Hawksworth tells us that people have been streaming into their donor center all day long. They will be open until 7 o'clock tonight. But again, the very latest on the victims here, 1 in critical, 1 in fair, 2 dead. Reporting live, Lisa Smith, 9 on your side.
All right, Lisa, thanks so much for your continued coverage. And our coverage on the shooting at the Fifth Third Bank headquarters does continue throughout this newscast. You should look for updates during this newscast and on WCPO.com. We will be sure to send any breaking developments with a push alert to your smartphone. And we want to change gears now and get a check your forecast. Steve, what's your traffic?
Well, bottom line is we've been very, unfortunate here for a lot of areas, seeing some very heavy rain sitting over the top for about the last hour. It just hasn't been moving. Consequently, we've got an advisory out and some other pockets of heavy rain. Right now, you'll notice from our 9 first warning Doppler that those pockets of rain are very isolated, but where they're falling, boy, it's really coming down quite heavy. Temperatures in the 70s, some 80s showing up where the rain has yet to really drop. You'll notice what's happening with this flood advisory until 8 o'clock for Hamilton, Kenton, and Campbell County. In fact, to give you an idea, out on Work Road, just got this from a friend of mine, Ronnie Paniotto. He sent this, and that whole area of Work Road all flooded there because of the intensity of the rain that just keeps on falling. Take a look at the story out by White Oak and Cleves, and rain across the city. And then down into northern Kentucky, we're seeing some heavy rain and thunderstorms there as well. We're seeing the showers and storms around the region. We're going to continue to see more rain as we go through tonight. And what's a little concerning for me is what's happening actually down around Memphis. It's this swirl of rain here, the remnants of Tropical Storm Gordon, and that is looking increasingly, Tanya, like we're going to have some potential for flood issues this weekend. I'll describe that coming up.
All right, Steve, we will see you shortly. Tragedy in downtown Cincinnati. Don't go anywhere just yet. We continue our live team coverage of the deadly shooting at Fifth Third Bank headquarters.
That is next on 9 on your side at 6.
I noticed a commotion come across Fountain Square. And then not 5 seconds later, a Cincinnati police officer showed up, and she was out of her car with her gun drawn, running towards Fountain Square. And about 10 seconds after that is when I heard the gunshots and took cover.
It's a tragic day. When it's all said and done, and we know all of the details, the story of what happened to the victims is going to be heart-wrenching.